the protections against the psychic wounds which are repressed in unconscious basement. So if the person is not ready to give up his trauma, maybe it's reason to live. How you work with that person. Thank you.
Right. Somebody asked a question like that, and my response was, to heal, transform trauma, that's easy. For the personality to change, that takes a lifetime.
And this is where entheogen trauma therapy comes in. Emotional trauma and excessive stress from, for example, medical school, scar the mind, reducing access to creativity, feeling, and the world around us. During dreamlike psychedelic experiences, like my spirit walk, gates in the mind are reopened, allowing for open-hearted, free-flowing emotional experiences and heightened sensory awareness. Psychedelic medicines, and in fact spiritual practice, e.g. meditation, can help expand thinking beyond maladaptive patterns. This expansion in consciousness is essential in spiritual and emotional healing, as it allows the mind to reopen to the heart. When people develop PTSD, the replaying of the trauma leads to sensitization. With every replay of the trauma, there is an increasing level of distress. In those individuals, the traumatic event, which started out as a social and interpersonal process, develops secondary biological consequences that are hard to reverse once they become entrenched. Bessel van der Kolk. The body. This is wrong. Actually, his book is The Body Keeps the Score. This is the book Dr. Robert Scare wrote. Anyway. Too often, the Western medical approach fails to address the emotional and spiritual dimensions of these chronic diseases and related illnesses, seeing them only as physical conditions. Shamanic plant medicine heals by going deeper into the emotional and spiritual realms. Like other forms of spiritual healing, it works by altering our consciousness. As suggested by author Stephen Booner, the mind is opened beyond the illusory limits of its current operating software. The mind is opened to the heart and to the energies that disturb our emotional being. Traditional medical philosophies, like shamanism, describe the presence of an emotional body, through which we experience emotion and feeling. Modern science has also encountered this emotional body and is now able to describe its anatomy, a complex network that connects our psychology, our nervous system, our endocrine system, and our immune system. Emotional trauma and spiritual wounds impair this network and, in turn, compromise health. The shamans have long known that when the emotional body is sick, the physical body cannot get well. Shamanic plant medicine gives us access to the mystical realms of the spirit, where we can find and heal these deeper wounds and release emotional burdens. Thus, emotional health returns, and along with it, our innate ability to heal mind and body.
Experience, like I hear often people fixate in resolving trauma as something that if I do something, finally I'll resolve it. And I would like if you could speak more as trauma as a relationship, as building intimacy, or as a process that...
Yeah, I mean, I talked about state and process. I mean, it's the process of becoming more alive and more embodied. Mm-hmm. And that's at minimum of a life's work. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And are they cycles in the healing of trauma? Are they dimensions or patterns that you recognize as we heal, that we encounter?
I think so. I mean, in other words, somebody, who's stuck in the fixity, the grip of trauma, everywhere they look, they're banging into their trauma. Every person they meet, they're banging into the trauma. Every relationship, they're banging into the trauma. Mm-hmm. But then as you work on it for a while, you kind of rub up against the trauma, but you move along. Mm. And it gets smoother. I mean, you think about it, the trauma at first is like a sharp piece of wood. And as you learn to move through it, then the wood becomes more like a surface, like a round surface. So instead of getting caught on it, you just rub against it and move through.
Humans cannot deny their humanity, not for long. As a culture, we are beginning to remember this. In order to be healthy and whole, we must be in touch with ourselves, our communities, and our environment. African traditional healer and scholar Dr. Malidoma Some has diagnosed Western society as being disconnected from 3 basic human necessities: nature, community, and ritual, which provides a channel to access spirit.